Today I'm going to be doing the first edition of the USHL Power Rankings for the 2019-2020 season. A couple notes before I get started. The USA National Program and the two teams that they have in the league are not going to be represented on these rankings. That's going to be two teams packed with prospects that I'll be talking about separately. The U18s probably will be the best in the league. The U17s probably are the worst in the league right now. They'll both get better and better, so again, I'll touch on them separately, but for now I'm just going to focus on the kind of USHL proper. And yeah, I didn't want to do a power ranking in the preseason. This league changes a lot every offseason. And then the first weekend, the Fall Classic, I thought it would be kind of unfair to do a power ranking because the schedules were just different for each team and very small sample size. A week later, I still feel like it's kind of early, but I wanted to get a ranking out there so that I could track movement for the next one and sort of do a little snapshot of where the league is now. I have watched every team. Some teams I've watched a little bit less than others. The better teams I've seen multiple games of. I do think these rankings are going to change a lot. I've got 4 teams from the Eastern Conference in my top 5. I'm just going to be doing a top 5. I was going to do all the teams, but that was going to take way too long. I wouldn't be surprised to have 3 or even 4 Western Conference teams in the top 5 the next time I do these. That's kind of how weak the current positions are and how small the sample size is, so it is very early on the year again. At number 5, I have the Youngstown Phantoms. I think this spot could have been a couple of teams. After I gave it some more thought, I kind of had to give it to Youngstown. The reason why is that their worst loss is in overtime against the Madison Capitals. That was the 3rd game in 3 nights for both teams right at the start of the season, so I kind of think of that as a wash. Then they played Muskegon twice. The Lumberjacks are 0-4, but I don't think that the Lumberjacks are that bad, so I kind of give Youngstown credit for keeping them winless. Muskegon really came at them in the 2nd game, and the goaltending held up, so I think there are a lot of things about this team that indicate that they're going to be in the mix, and we just have to find out how they do for the rest of the month. The Phantoms' leading scorer, Riley Funk, just committed to Northern Michigan. He came out of the Manitoba Junior League. He's looked pretty solid for junior hockey. 2 game winners, 8 points in 5 games. Rookie Yusako Ando from Japan by way of British Columbia has looked really good to start his career in junior hockey. 6 points in 5 games. He does a bit of everything, shifty, good decision making, good skill level. Still uncommitted as one of the youngest players in the league, so definitely somebody to watch. Overager Jason Dobé on defense. He's looked good. I've seen some good things out of draft eligible Ben Schoen, Penn State recruit. Aiden Gallagher, Michigan State on defense, another player I've liked a lot. And there are a number of other players on this team that have looked pretty good. Goaltender Colin Purcell, draft eligible UMass recruit. He's got 2 quality wins so far. I'm looking forward to see how the 6'5" goaltender can build on his early start in the draft year. At number 4, we got the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders. They are currently 4-0, looking like a pretty good team. They're definitely looking sharp. Starting the season, 17 players on this roster have at least a point. 14 have at least 2 points within the first 4 games. Now that has to get a little bit of an asterisk. The last 2 wins are against the U17 NTDP, which is probably the weakest team in the conference, like I said. They're young, super young, obviously. And so it was kind of a hard team to place, even though they are 4-0. I knew that they were going to have to be in the top 5, but we got to see what they do the rest of the month. As far as how high they could have been, I think they could have been as high as number 3. They did play an extra game compared to who I have at number 3, but again, those 2 of their 4 games so far have been against the U17s. So I don't think you can realistically put them out of the top 5, but we're going to have to see if they can keep it up. Really like points leader Justin Rakowian's start. He's a Northeastern recruit coming out of Salisbury Prep. He had 45 points in 26 games last year. Great on the puck, passing, shooting, creating. He's got 1 game winner, plus 10 on the year. I can't really single out many other players. They just have a lot of solid guys who have had a good start to the season. We'll see if some more players really emerge. As long as Rakowian stays healthy, he's going to have a big year. Will Francis on defense is going to have a big year if he can stay disciplined, make strong plays on the puck. Coming up, they got a big test against Waterloo. That's just one game. Then they have Omaha home and home. That's going to be a big test. Before Tri-City, Madison, Green Bay close out the month. We're going to learn a lot about this team come November. At the 3 spot, we got the Dubuque Fighting Saints. Again, not sure how to read the schedule so far. They've played Madison twice. Madison don't seem to be a great team. Then they beat Muskegon. Already talked about how they are 0-4, but probably better than that record looks. Maybe not, but we'll see. I mean, this is the team who is going to fall out of the power ranking very fast with any more bad results. Well, any bad results, they're 3-0. So, because it's a very light sample size, they are currently undefeated, but there are a couple other factors from the eye test and the stats that I think keep them up high in the ranking. They have a great goalie in Eric Portillo. The other goalie, Aiden McCarthy, stood pretty tall against Madison. The D-core is really solid. I think it's only going to get better. The Jackson Twins brothers should score quite a bit this season. Reese Gaber looks great, North Dakota recruit. Same for Mark Cherameda, Braden Doyle, BU guys, Matt Copperud, Arizona State. I like their depth. Reggie Millette, Antonio Venuto, I've noticed a good amount. I think you can basically just go down this whole roster. There's plenty of guys to like here, and we'll see who really emerges for them. But I said, even if they don't, if they struggle a little bit with their forward group and defense, the goaltending is there. So I think they have to keep proving it, but with only 4 teams to play the rest of the month, Tri-City, Des Moines, Sioux City, and the U17s, they can definitely win out. If they want to prove that they're the real thing, that's what they should be trying to do. And I think this is definitely one of those schedules where it would look really bad if they had gone 1-2 or 0-3. But going 3-0, they look fine. They're kind of taking care of business. So I have them at 3. Number 2, Waterloo Blackhawks. This is a pretty strong team, deep, great mix of good older players, talented younger players, balanced scoring. They're pretty big. I think this is just a good junior hockey team. Gabe Carrier has been great in net. He gets a healthy amount of shots, not too many, not too little. Really like UND recruit Luke Bast on defense. His brother was a good player too. The whole defensive group is pretty solid. Aaron Bollinger, uncommitted. He's had a great start to the year. Really scored a nice overtime goal and then followed it up with a second one the next night. I want to see more from 2020 draft eligible Ryder Volston, Notre Dame recruit. He's been fine, but I think he can show a lot more based on what I saw last season. The younger group of players led by Matthew Argentina, North Dakota recruit, Wyatt Shingoth, Denver. They've shown some flashes. I think they're going to all get better and better. The older group got Kyle Haskins, Michigan State recruit, Griffin Ness, another North Dakota recruit. They've all looked the part. I just think top to bottom, this is a really solid team. They play Cedar Rapids, then Tri-City, and a couple other teams who are kind of on the outside looking in. So I think if they take care of business, they're going to be right up here next time I do the rankings. And at number 1, I have the Chicago Steel. Chicago Steel made it all the way to the finals last spring against Sioux Falls, where they were swept. This year, I think it's a pretty good chance, at least based on the early going, that they are going to make it pretty far into the spring again. They are the upstart team or franchise in this league as of late. They've got a really interesting identity, skilled, fast, strong on the puck. They are 3-0. I've watched all 3 games. They outshot opponents in all 3 games. And even though they haven't played any of the current top teams, I do think the eye test tells a story here. Defensively, they look great, deep. Forward group, same thing. This is one of those teams, obviously I have them first. I think you could just go down the whole roster and say most of these guys are good players, especially for junior hockey. Gunnar Wolf Fontaine, already looking like one of my favorite players this year. Definitely was one of my favorites last year. Engaged, shooting the puck, physical, makes plays. Brendan Brisson, draft eligible Michigan recruit. When he starts scoring, things are going to get really interesting. Sean Farrell looks awesome to start the year. I was a little bit concerned that they picked Farrell over Ryder Rolston when the draft happened in the spring. Ryder Rolston went second and Farrell went first. But I think that's looking like really the right call the way Farrell is playing right now. He's been just straight money for them. Tender Ryan Ufko is already looking like one of the top young defensemen in the league. Sometimes you tender a player and they look timid and not that great. I think he's looked sharp and really solid. Yeah, they just look scary, and the really scary thing about this team is they're going to be making a run. They're going to be adding a piece or two to this group to try to make us more solid run, most likely. And the young group is just going to get better and better. So they're skilled, they're fast. I think before long they could be controlling play in a big way, really go on a run. The only potential weakness, I think, is goaltending. I don't even know that it is a weakness. We just haven't seen enough from them to know if they can save a game for them, which is a credit to this team. They haven't needed to kind of steal wins for them. I think they've been fine. They gutted out a really nice win against Green Bay. This whole team did, to solidify the #1 ranking, in my opinion. The Green Bay goaltender, Grabko, was doing everything he could to ruin the home opener, and they just kind of kept playing their game, sent a lot of pucks at him, and they just outchanced Green Bay in a big way. And so they came away with the win, held Green Bay to 1 goal. I legitimately think this is a team that could go 8-0 this month. More realistically, they're probably going to drop a game or two. As long as they look good in all their games, I think that they're going to be back at the #1 spot, but time will tell. So thanks for listening to this first edition of the USHL Power Rankings. I'm looking forward to update these every, well, we'll see how often I do it, but thanks for listening.